Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm absolutely pumped about this one because we're taking a deep dive into demystifying real-world solar system engineering. If you're trying to build an off-grid system, a van conversion, or honestly, just a reliable backup power setup to keep your fridge running and laptops charged, you already know that trying to figure out your exact energy needs can feel totally overwhelming. But today, we're going to strip away all that confusion and rely entirely on the hard data.
So let's just dive right in, shall we? How many solar panels do you actually need for a 12-volt, 200-amp-hour battery? It's easily one of the most common questions out there, yet it is so deeply misunderstood. You might think it's a simple, straightforward answer, right? Just buy a panel, plug it in, and you're good to go. But as we're going to see, the answer depends on far more than just the battery size alone. We literally have to unravel this whole mystery of variables: sunlight hours, charge controller efficiency, battery chemistry, and yes, even the weather.
To truly answer this question, we have to build the system from the battery outward. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll tackle the perfect sunlight myth. Then we'll calculate real battery capacity, followed by a look at real-world solar production. After that, we'll explore scaling your solar array, and finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up with crucial system safety checks.
All right, starting with part one, the perfect sunlight myth, and what typical explanations usually miss.
You've probably seen it online. A lot of top channels push this idea of perfect sunlight. They use these super simple formulas and give you the impression that a 100-watt panel is just going to pump out 100 watts continuously all day long. Well, the reality is far more chaotic. They almost entirely miss the efficiency losses from your charge controller. They ignore the fact that temperature severely affects panel output, that cloud cover changes literally everything, and the different battery chemistries change your charging behavior. If you only rely on theoretical, perfect math, you're for sure going to be left sitting in the dark with a chronically undercharged battery.
Moving on to part two, calculating real battery capacity. This is the foundational math, folks. Okay, here's the crucial thing. You cannot just look at amp hours alone. You really have to understand total energy. To figure out how much energy your battery actually stores, we use a simple three-step process. Step 1, identify your nominal voltage. In our case, that's 12 volts. Step 2, identify the capacity, which is 200 amp hours. And step 3, multiply the volts by the amps to get your total watt hours. So 12 times 200 gives us our magic number. Boom! 2,400 watt hours, or 2.4 kilowatt hours. To put that into perspective for a second, that is enough energy to run a standard LED TV continuously for over 2 straight days. Now, I want you to lock this number in your mind. This is the massive energy bucket we are trying to fill. This 2,400 watt hour figure is the absolute anchor number for your entire system design. Literally everything we do from here on out is designed to put 2,400 watt hours back into that battery. Which brings us to Section 3, Real-World Solar Production, Theoretical Harvest versus Practical Reality. So how much juice does a panel actually make in a day? To figure that out, we use the daily solar harvest formula. You just take your panel watts and multiply them by your peak sun hours. And a peak sun hour isn't just any hour the sun happens to be up. It's an hour where the sunlight intensity actually reaches a specific high threshold. For our example today, let's assume a realistic, real-world baseline of 5 peak sun hours. So if you have a 400-watt solar array, you multiply 400 watts by 5 hours, which equals 2,000 watt-hours per day. Notice something there? Our bucket is 2,400 watt-hours, but this 400-watt array is only giving us 2,000 watt-hours perfectly? It's not even enough to recharge a fully depleted battery in one single day. But wait, it actually gets a bit trickier. Real systems have losses. You simply don't get 100% of the energy your panels produce. In a well-designed system, you're realistically looking at roughly 85% practical energy delivered to the battery, meaning 15% is just lost to the ether. Your MPPT charge controller isn't perfectly efficient. Your cables introduce resistance. Dust on the panels, the angle of the sun, and even high ambient temperatures all rob you of theoretical power. Because of those pesky losses, we've got to adjust our math. If we need to get 2,400 watt-hours into the battery, and our system is only 85% efficient, we divide 2,400 by 0.85. The result? We actually need our solar panels to generate approximately 2,824 watt-hours of energy just to fill up our 2,400 watt-hour battery. This adjusted energy requirement is exactly why experienced installers always include a margin of safety when sizing solar arrays. All right, Section 4, scaling your solar array. 100 watt versus 400 watt versus 800 watt.
Here's the hard truth of solar charging, guys. If you go out and buy a single 100-watt panel, assuming those 5 peak sun hours, you only harvest 500 watt-hours a day. It would take nearly 5 days of absolute perfect weather just to recharge your flat battery. Imagine sitting in your van for an entire work week just waiting to use your microwave. That completely surprises a lot of new builders. Now step up to a 400-watt array. That gives you 2,000 watt-hours a day, bringing your recharge time down to about 1.2 days. Much better. But if you want a really reliable off-grid system that actually gives you a margin for cloudy weather, look at the 800-watt array. That recharges your completely flat battery in less than a single day, with energy left over to actually run your electrical loads at the exact same time. But hang on. We can't ignore the battery itself because the chemistry, it matters immensely. Lithium iron phosphate, or LiFePO batteries, are fantastic because they charge efficiently at high currents until they are nearly perfectly full. But lead-acid batteries behave very, very differently. They accept a fast bulk charge initially, but as they enter the absorption phase for that final 10 to 20%, the charging current basically drops to a trickle. That means the final portion of charging a lead-acid battery may take several additional agonizing hours, stretching those charging times we just calculated even further. Two identical 200 amp-hour batteries are going to have completely different charging times based entirely on their chemistry. And that leads us perfectly into Section 5, crucial system safety checks, because we absolutely have to protect your gear. As you scale up that solar array, you're obviously pushing a lot more energy through your system, which brings us straight to the charge controller. You have to make sure your controller can actually handle the current. The math is pretty straightforward. Current equals power divided by voltage. So if we take our 400-watt array and divide it by our 12-volt battery system, we get roughly 33 amps. Now lock onto this number. It is absolutely critical. A 400-watt array can pump 33 amps of charging current into your battery under favorable conditions. A massive, massive mistake people make is choosing a charge controller based purely on the solar panel wattage, without ever checking the maximum charging current rating. If your controller is only rated for 20 amps, that 33 amp flow is going to bottleneck your charging, reducing your output. Or worse, it could severely overheat the equipment and completely void your warranty. Which brings us to these strict risk points you absolutely must respect. First up, undersized wiring. Pushing high current through small wires creates extreme heat, a massive voltage drop, and a very real fire risk. Second, missing fuses. Every single battery system needs a battery fuse and proper disconnects. If something shorts out, batteries can deliver incredibly high, dangerous fault currents. Third, like we just discussed, controller overload will literally ruin your expensive equipment. And finally, a sneaky performance killer, partial shading. Even a tiny shadow from a roof vent on a single panel can drastically cut the output of your entire array, causing a huge amount of confusion when your expected charging rates suddenly plummet. If you take away literally one thing from today's explainer, let it be this core philosophy right here. Proper sizing begins with understanding energy, not just counting panels. Once you understand that your battery is a 2,400 watt-hour bucket of energy, you quickly realize that a 100-watt panel simply won't cut it, and that a 400 or even 800-watt array is what you truly need to account for real-world losses and chemistry bottlenecks. So, I'm curious, what do your real-world charging times look like? I'm challenging you to drop your battery size, your panel wattage, and your general location below. Let's compare your actual real-world performance against the theoretical math we walked through today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep building safely, and I absolutely cannot wait to explore more fascinating topics with you next time.